our next speaker, Annick from CyberSafe. Annick, can I welcome you onto the stage? Is delivering a keynote now on AI and cyber risk, the human factor, which is a brilliant continuation. Welcome to the stage. Thank you very much. All yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Annick O'Brien. I am coming to you today from CyberSafe. And CyberSafe is a human risk management platform. So we are a tech provider. We're in the SaaS space. We are using and we are developing AI. And the primary focus that we have is, of course, on human cyber risk. So whilst being a tech product, our primary focus is on people and helping people to make strong and safe digital decisions. So today, as you can see on the screen, I'm about to start talking about human cyber risk. And here we have it, the human factor. This is security behavior in the age of AI, big data, and fast tech. And why am I talking about big data and fast tech as well as AI? And this is because we see that human risk management continues to be a major vulnerability in cybersecurity. We see that with fatigue due to big data, fast-moving tech, what is happening is AI is being used to accelerate these vulnerabilities. And in addition to accelerating the vulnerabilities, we see that AI is now also being used to impact human trust and to impact human error. And these are two of the main areas of security awareness that we need to be concerned about. So we're not just talking about malicious insiders and errors and breaches. We are actually talking about trust and people trusting, for example, that the phone call they're receiving is indeed from the IT department and they should indeed share information, whereas in fact it's a malicious deepfake or vishing. So what we're looking at here is a development of the industry and a development of regulation which is enhancing that vulnerability, which is human risk management. Now, I'm not saying that people are the biggest risk in cybersecurity. What I'm saying is that human behavior creates a critical vulnerability, and the fast-moving big tech and AI developments mean that that vulnerability is being accentuated. We are looking here at the macro, and we see that there's a market shift. We see that organizations are moving away from training and awareness into human risk management. The discussion is now about risk. The discussion is not about training. The discussion is about risk and how we manage and mitigate those risks. We are looking at strong AI regulatory drivers. We see in the UK that there is efforts from the government to regulate development, deployment of AI. We see in the EU, with the EU AI Act, that focus on regulating AI, regulating it in terms of how it's deployed, regulating it in terms of the transparency, but regulating it most importantly in terms of people, in terms of the human factor, and having that human curator, having the oversight, which is an integral and essential part of the EU AI Act, and that is human oversight. So even the most recent piece of regulatory development that we see on technology and AI is a piece of regulation talking to us about people, talking to us about the human factor and how people can help generate the security. We do see, of course, a technology shift. There is a huge change in technology over the last 18 months in terms of what technology is available, what people are using on a day-to-day basis, and what malicious threat actors are using in terms of how those security vulnerabilities are being advanced. So the AI is being used to advance attacks, and we see in an automation world that there is a tangible element of risk that can be measured and reduced by addressing that human factor. And finally, I think it's important to talk about, when we're talking macro, it is important to talk about the mindset shift. Organizations no longer have access to cheap money. Budgets are more constrained. So what we need to do now is not compliance for compliance sake, not tick the box compliance, but we need to be looking at risk reduction, which has a correlation to savings. We're never going to make money through compliance. The compliance department knows that. The security department knows that we're not going to make money through security, but we can save money. And we need to be able to measure through big data and through the use of AI, which analyzes all of these human behaviors, we need to be able to measure the correlation between the risks created by humans, the management and mitigation of those risks, and how that correlates to savings. So when we look at these big shifts, we specifically can bring it to the AI focus. And when we're looking at the market shift, we do see that the threat landscape has changed. We see the way that attackers are coming into the market has changed completely. There is an augmentation of deep fakes. They are much more believable now than they ever were before. They are having more impact. We see much more personalized phishing, vishing, smishing. We see data exfiltration and specifically privilege misuse. We see MFA fatigue. MFA fatigue, which is being monitored through AI algorithms, which can see the fatigue that's coming through the behaviors and interactions of individuals. And then that leads people to bypass MFA. So we had a huge push towards MFA in the last few years, two-factor authentication, multi-factor. Now we see people having that MFA fatigue and bypassing security controls. And some of that is actually what happened recently with some of our big retailers in the UK. We see a technology shift in terms of a democratization of AI threats. AI now enables less skilled actors to create rather sophisticated attacks. So whereas AI will enable less skilled workers to create more developed content or more accurate pieces of information for their work, it's also helping our threat actors to create more skilled and varied, complex types of threats. The speed at which it's happening has increased. The scale at which it's happening has increased. But conversely, the way in which that we are using AI to manage those threats has also been increased. So there is a positive when I talk about the threats that AI has to the market in terms of cybersecurity threats. It's also an opportunity for us in terms of detection and response. And finally, I would say that there's a mindset shift. We need to harness the power of AI through what we are using in our businesses, both in terms of the security departments and how cybersecurity is managed, but also in terms of the threat landscape and the threat landscape that has now been increased due to the increasing use of AI in daily work. So I think these are important things to remember when we're looking at the macro picture. Specifically, I would say a focus on AI, which is enabling organizations, threat actors, to enhance the social engineering aspect. Another example I would use is that we see a great development in terms of AI translations. This is a wonderful thing for the market. We can now see all types of content in all different types of languages because of translations. AI translations are a wonderful addition to us in business. However, the development of AI translations has also completely changed the threat landscape as it relates to phishing. Phishing used to be a primarily English-speaking challenge. We saw 90% of phishing was happening through English in the English-speaking world. So much less of it was happening in other languages. And when it was happening in other languages, the translations were so bad that it was quite obviously a phishing attempt. And I speak about phishing, smishing, vishing. We saw it all there. Now, through the development of AI, because this is a positive development, we're also seeing that the threat landscape has changed. Now we're seeing an increased amount of particularly smishing through other languages. So now the threat landscape has changed from the English-speaking world to all the world, and it's instant. It's not taking months and months to translate phishing emails. It's done instantly because of AI. To move to the micro element, from having spoken about the macro element, I would like to speak about OBehave, our annual security report that we produce in alliance with the National Cyber Security Alliance and CybSafe. We've produced this annually now for 4 years. The QR code is up there for anybody who's nervous about QR codes. Please just go to our website, www.cybsafe.com, and you will be able to download for free the OBehave report. And this is a complex and detailed report on security behaviours in organisations. What this is doing is telling us what people are thinking and doing in relation to cybersecurity in both their personal and work lives, because we know that you cannot segregate your personal life and your professional life when it comes to security behaviours. How you interact with the digital world is how your security posture is demonstrated, whether that is in your personal life or your professional life. And we do see threat actors increasingly using AI to monitor the personal lives of individuals so as to identify weak points within organisations, security weak behaviours in organisations, and indicate who is the person who we can send a really personalised phishing attack to and who's most likely to click on that link. So we can use AI to understand who's the most likely to click on a link and what are their interests. So what's the most possible link that they're going to click on? And measuring those types of risks and understanding those types of security behaviours is, of course, key to understanding AI security risk. Here's a couple of really good phishing, smishing, SMS phishing. UK government talking about energy bills. Everybody's concerned about that. And then we see that more people are shopping online. So we've got the challenge of packaging. And what's interesting about this is that everybody knows that this is how we live our lives and these are the things we're concerned about. But at the meantime, everybody's desperately trying to keep up with the requirement in organizations to have long passwords, constantly change your password, and indeed always remember to keep up with the latest security advice. What we do at CybSafe is we specifically focus on the COM-B model, which is capability, opportunity, and motivation. We know that training does not change people's behaviors. We know that 15% of people who do training actually change their behavior. But we also know that 85% of breaches are due to human error. So we know that there's work to be done there, and we know that people do it through our behavioral science department, through capability, opportunity, and motivation. This is what changes behavior. Training, awareness does not change behavior. Capability, opportunity, motivation changes behavior. In our report, we have seen that 65% of people are concerned about AI-related cybercrime. At the same time, 52%, that's 1 in 2, believe they have not received appropriate training on how to use AI safely. So we have this world where everybody's talking about AI, it's available to enhance our jobs, and 50% of us haven't been helped by our organisation to make a safe digital decision when it comes to AI. Interestingly, we see 38% have shared sensitive information without their employer's knowledge. So if you are working in an organisation which has a very low risk approach and does not enable AI in your organisation, please be advised that almost 40%, that's 2 in 5 of your workforce, are indeed sharing information with AI. So the best bet is to harness the power of that AI rather than trying to cancel it. And we see differences both in terms, and we don't have time today, but anybody who's interested, please do come and speak to me. We see differences in terms of where people are based and, of course, their ages in terms of what types of information they are sharing with AI. So our takeaways are that the user's knowledge, attitudes, and motivations are what changes security behavior. But we need to help users to harness the power of AI. We need to help them make safe digital decisions. And we need to really change their approach to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is not the organization's responsibility. It's not the CISO's responsibility. It is, in fact, everyone's responsibility. When I'm looking at human risk management in an AI world, I've mentioned how the threat landscape has changed, that the AI has a huge influence in the workspace, and indeed that AI-driven protection is enhancing our abilities to manage and mitigate both human risk and more technological challenges. So what I'm saying here today is not that we should replace our firewalls and our different types of protections on a technology basis with human risk management, but we should combine them. and we should harness the power of people to understand which are the most appropriate and most effective types of technology that will help analyse and mitigate and manage those risks. So from there, we're speaking about artificial intelligence, and we see that attackers are using AI to automate and to optimize their efforts. Attackers are also attacking AI by poisoning data, by data exfiltration. So this is something to be conscious of as well. And we're looking at the changes in the abilities in terms of language. So our threat landscape has changed. And social engineering, of course, due to being able to analyze human behaviors and how people are interacting online, we can have more complementary social engineering that will in fact be more effective. And when social engineering attacks, it attacks the person in order to get to the organization. So there is no separation of people from the professional when it comes to social engineering attacks. I would say that AI does not create new vulnerabilities. It just highlights existing ones. And we see that through the different pieces of legislation, such as the EU AI Act. We've seen the executive order in the US telling us that they won't be regulating AI, and at the same time, currently 7 states in the US this year have introduced statewide legislation to regulate AI. We see China regulating AI, not just AI, how it's used and deployed, but how it's developed. China has gone heavy on regulating how to develop AI. So we do see a strong regulatory factor in terms of those vulnerabilities. I would say that for you, looking at your organizations, transparency is key. Transparency in human intervention, human oversight, humans as the curator of AI. No black boxes. We should understand what AI is doing, how it's being used in our organizations, and we should regularly intervene and monitor how the AI is performing. Anybody who's read the Forrester report will see that AI has had a huge impact on human risk management and how we are managing those human behaviours in terms of security culture, measuring and managing the risk and the response. This isn't about more training. This isn't about generating more content with AI. This is about really understanding and being able to categorize human behaviors. What is the human security culture in our organization? What are the behaviors that are causing our organization risk? And we see here about identifying personal attack exposures and responding to those risks. And this is really about understanding risk. Anybody who works in risks will know that we've got to understand the likelihood of the risk, and then we've got to measure that against the impact of that risk. And the risk result, what we're resulting with, is the likelihood versus the impact. And that's what is important here. Some people might click on lots of phishing links. They might be not important to our organization. Therefore, what they have access to and what they can do is less important. So we really need to be thinking about how we're harnessing all of that data through AI to measure and to mitigate those human risks. For anybody who's interested in understanding more about human cyber risk and the threats in relation to AI, but indeed how we can measure those risks, please do stay in the loop and join our newsletter, which we regularly post, and the QR code to give you access to that is there. I would finish up by saying today that I believe that AI is a huge opportunity for all of us. It's a huge opportunity for the security industry to enable them to really protect organizations, but it does increase the threat landscape, and therefore we need to understand those human behaviors and to help people to make safe digital decisions. Thank you.
Annick, thank you very much indeed. Just while I was listening to your keynote, I thought I'd be really clever here and ask AI for a really insightful question, which we haven't got time for because we're out of time. But you see, my good friend, Mr. ChatGPT said, ask, most breaches exploit human error. So if technology can only go so far, what needs to be done to build a security-first culture at scale? I think you've just addressed that for the past 20 minutes. You're one step ahead. So thank you very much indeed. That was absolutely enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.